speaking of people that are not good, Disney is not good these days.
Good.
Bob Iger did the quarterly earnings call, and they're panicking right now. Disney is panicking right now because they lost 4 million subscribers when they were expecting to grow by several million, which is not good, ladies and gentlemen. They were expecting to grow from 161.8 million subscribers to 163.2 million subscribers. They ended up falling to 157 million subscribers, a 4 million subscriber loss. Not good.
No, and remember when we thought it was this momentous occasion when Netflix lost 200K?
Yeah, well,
That's nothing. That's rookie numbers.
They lost 200K in America. Disney lost about 300K in America here, according to this article here. So they lost 4 million subscribers, and they say the way they're going to fix this is by focusing on quality over quantity. Shocking concept right there, guys. Shocking.
Bob Iger, damn you and your non-threatening cardigans.
Well, hey, I love
You're
a cardigan
so bad
wearer,
at your job.
as a cardigan wearer myself, I have no problem with that. But he says that basically that ad budgets spread them. They spread themselves too thin with ad budgets because they have to make all these products and not any nothing but the tent poles seem to be driving subscriber growth. So only the big budget ones that go to theaters drive
subscriber growth.
No.
I don't think it did.
Well, they're not listening to that. They list Marvel movies and Pixar movies when they're talking there. I think was Strange Worlds wasn't Pixar. It was a Disney animation.
owns Marvel, Star Wars,
Pixar.
and Pixar
And 20th Century Fox.
Yeah, I mean, they really should be honing in on the core audience of Marvel, the core audience of Star Wars, and they should be servicing the crap out of those people for the next decade, or they're going to absolutely destroy those properties.
But that's what they sincerely believe themselves to be doing.
No.
Not when
They think they're cultivating a new audience of gay women.
They're looking to expand the audience because they have been convinced that the social justice stuff is actually going to pay the bills.
Sure, but they also think that the fans of Marvel are just going to take anything Marvel and like it.
That's why I think they need to focus on the core audiences and the core story types that people enjoy. When you the thing is, Captain Marvel was not a heroic person in the movie, and how the fact that she was not behaving like a hero behaves slipped by, and they allowed that movie to be made. It's how is it that you can't see that she is behaving in a non-heroic way? She's not going to inspire people when she's angry and bitter, and that's the way she was written.
She's not a hero. She's a hero. Remember, she's a hero with the HER.
I hate that. Is it true that Bob Iger said it's bad business to change the culture of the IPs that they require and ruin what makes them special?
Hopefully.
Did he really say that? Because I see that in the comment section. It's a lie, obviously.
Yes.
That hasn't been the strategy.
So he talks about he talks about how marketing has been spread thin because they've got too many projects and they can't put marketing where it needs to go, right? If you have to advertise a bunch of Disney Plus shows that nobody's watching and taking the budget away from all of your big budget tentpoles that actually need the marketing done to get the info out there. I remember a time when I would be able to go on, because I use IMDb a lot, and all I would see are Disney ads in the IMDb section, and when you'd see the little banner ads at the bottom. I don't see that as much these days.
So they canceled Willow and they canceled National Treasure after one season.
Well, National Treasure without Nicolas Cage. Shocking how that didn't get a second season.
What else have they canceled? I don't know. I don't pay attention to Disney Plus because I always thought it was the least relevant.
Well, also now Andor season 2 is in jeopardy because of the WGA writer's strike and stuff like that. And they're going to have to pull back on all this stuff. Also, they're talking about bundling Disney Plus and Hulu into one package by the end of 2023 so that you can do...
It's going to be a one-app experience.
Which is stupid because I don't have Disney Plus anymore. I only have Hulu, and I like Hulu a lot. I don't want Hulu to change.
Well, I guess they are saying Hulu is not going to change. They're not going to change the catalog. They're just going to merge it.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is so the idea is people are going to be why would I keep Hulu? I'll just go get Disney Plus for more.
That is odd because Disney Plus was thought of as this kind of kid-friendly
not anymore.
Streaming service, and if you merge it with Hulu, it's not going to be that at all.
Nope. No, a majority of the stuff that I watch on there is not kid.
I mean, is there anything that's like not kid friendly on Disney Plus right now?
Yeah. Well, we had that discussion when the Punisher is on there, and I wouldn't consider that kid friendly. I wouldn't consider Daredevil, the Daredevil Netflix series, to be necessarily kid friendly, especially in regards to like the physical violence on the show.
Okay. Aside from violence, is there sexuality shown on Disney Plus?
I don't know.
I just think it's a big shift in like the target audience when you add all of that
business model
stuff to one platform.
Yeah.
Because like, what's the identity of it anymore?
Yeah. They also this is the second quarterly drop in a row. So recently we did a video where we talked about how Lightyear and what was the other one? And Strange Worlds together lost about $200 million. And people were like, oh, that's just a drop in the bucket to Disney. That's nothing. I was like, you can only do that for so long before it starts to take a dent in, put a dent in the show. So it's a $659 million loss this quarter. So clearly it does make a difference if you lose a couple $100 million on your movies. They lost over $1 billion the quarter before this. So in 2 quarters, they've lost nearly $2 billion in revenue. You can't do that forever. Even Disney can't do that forever. Even with all of the ESG investment, you can't do that forever.
Because your investors notice.
Yeah.
And to think the investors haven't noticed this already is ridiculous. That's the reason that Iger's talking about this. It was the investors' call is when when he said this stuff. It's like, I'm sure that if he's making these kind of comments, he's not doing it in a vacuum. He's responding to investors he's responding to things that he's hearing from the investors. He's trying to calm people down because there's already people that are like, maybe we should get out of here. People are seeing what happened at Bud Light and the significant decline in volume of sales on Bud Light, and they're going to equate it to Disney. The fact that woke has now become a thing that is in people's minds so much, and you're seeing such a negative reaction to it, people are starting to notice that it's being shoved down their throat. It's been so long that every single show has to have some kind of LGBT representation and stuff, and people are getting to the point where they're like, all right, I'm kind of over it. And so, it seems like Disney was Bob's responding. Yep. We'll see if it pans out, but
like with Lightyear, for instance, it barely had that. It had like a blink and you miss it.
Yeah, but the marketing had it, and Chris Evans talked about it a bunch in the marketing.
Sure,
yeah.
But I mean, how much do people actually pay attention?
But that's usually what it is. Usually, it's less bad in the movies, and the marketing makes it way worse. Like usually, they focus on it in the marketing, and it should be the opposite.
I don't think people who are just ordinary people taking their kids to the movies to occupy them for a couple hours pay attention to what Chris Evans is saying about Lightyear. I don't think they have
activists do.
Heard about it.
Activists do.
But the thing is,
but then how are they?
Like, people didn't like Lightyear because it sucked.
Well, no, and no Tim Allen.
Well, it's also not related to the rest of Toy Story.
Yeah.
So when Bob Iger is saying like we need to emphasize the franchises, the Pixar, the Star Wars, the Marvel of it all, he's not paying attention to the fact that quality matters, not just hitting on a zombified, Weekend at Bernie's corpse of a franchise that people once liked.
He does mention that they need to focus on quality more than quantity now.
Well,
but also
luck doing that. Nobody working at Disney has any creative integrity.
They also talk about content write down. Right, or impairment charge, meaning that they're basically pulling like almost $2 billion worth of worthless content off of Disney because it's not making any money.
Well, I mean, just letting it sit there, how does that cost anything?
Server space, brand if it hurts brand by not be if you're putting out a bunch of stuff and nobody's watching it, and then you start being known as a place where nothing but fluff, that can be brand damaging, right? Okay. So it says when I looked up, it said, an impairment charge is a process used by businesses to write off worthless goodwill. So in this context, the content has to be written off and gotten rid of as a way of like writing down expenses. And I imagine server space, updating thumbnails, like content still has to be looked after.
I wish they named specifically what they're gonna take off of Disney Plus.
I know, right? We'll end up seeing down the line what that is. Also, I found out, so Hotstar, they referenced that the lack of subscriber growth, the fall in subscriber growth was connected to the failings of their launch of Hotstar, which is basically Disney in India and Southeast Asia. And what they said was that the slower than average growth was related to the fact that they lost the rights to premium cricket matches there.
cricket matches.
Yes, big deal over there, I guess. Cricket is one of the biggest sports in the world.
Yeah.
So they lost access to that, which hurt growth. So now
the ghost of British colonialism in India.
Can't get rid of it, man.
I love the butterfly effect sometimes.
It just shows up anyway. So they talk about how the tent poles need to be used to spur on subscriber growth. So then what is the market for these shows that, like, when I think of Disney Plus, I never wanted it for like Marvel movies. I wanted it for old stuff from Disney that I loved when I was a kid. I wanted it for Brink. So I could watch the movie Brink from the Disney Channel back in the late 90s. Like, that's what I think of when I think of Disney. And in movies like the Mighty Ducks, which were Disney movies but aren't something that we would consider a franchise at the time.
Yeah, that's why I was so confused by Disney Plus when it first came out in 2019, because I thought this is just a streaming service for people who are adult Disney super fans that are nostalgic for all the content, which I wasn't allowed to watch as a kid, so I don't care for it. Yeah. I don't want to get it. And then COVID was pretty much the thing that locked them in for success.
Yeah, a lot of it's almost
people
like
were so starved for content.
Accidental success.
COVID. Yeah, it would not have gotten to this point without COVID.
Has anybody checked flight logs to see if Bob Iger's been to Wuhan? I'm just saying, you know,
or Epstein Island.
We could check on both of them. I'm still saying it's possible.
It's interesting
China, like, there's obviously China has a big effect on what Disney does and does not do.
Yes.
They'll pretend that it doesn't.
Well, yeah.
Hence the marketing for Lightyear. Yeah. Being like, we don't care if China doesn't want to screen it.
I'm going to read what they were saying about the content pull down. So it says, as a result, we are removing certain content from our streaming platforms and currently expect to make an impairment charge of approximately 1.5 to 1.8 billion. The charge, which will be recorded in our segment results, will primarily be recognized in the third quarter as we complete our review and remove the content. I do love how, like, we've gotten so good in this country at fudging numbers. They're like, and the numbers will show up on this quarter, but not this quarter. Like, they're so good at moving money around to hide losses and make everything seem on the up and up. WWE was able to do that for years.
The thing about losses is they're not losses until they're realized losses.
Yes.
So
she also says that she noted that another $180 million charge for the rest of the company's 2023 fiscal year ends in September, following a hit last quarter of $150 million, mostly due to severance from the 7,000 workers they're laying off. Because remember, everything's fine at Disney. There's nothing wrong here. They can afford to make bad movies that nobody's watching, except for the fact that they're laying people off and money's going out the window.
I just saw a tweet that said Disney Plus lost 6.4 million subscribers in 2023 so far. So that's after the first 3 months of the year. They're claiming that it was another 2.4 loss.
How many
million
subscribers did they have?
Well, they have about 157. 157 is what they're at right now.
Yeah. Wow.
I don't know if the 6.4 number is correct, but that's crazy.
Yep.
I wonder if the Proud Family reboot, what is it, a remake, revival? The Proud Family revival is going to be taken off the platform because it was blatant race hustling for children.
They'll leave it.
Who didn't like the original Proud Family show because they are... I mean, the people who watched Proud Family are my age or older.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, a lot of this stuff is just, it just feels like, this is why whenever we talk about these things, I get frustrated because I'm like, it never feels like anything changes, right? They lose money. They make movies that nobody watches. They're making these movies that cost $250 to $300 million a piece, right? Which means every single one of them needs to make $800 million to $1 billion just to start sniffing profit. And you're just like, what's the point of risking that much every time?
Are they doing it internationally? They have to do it internationally?
They have to make that much. They have to make at least $1 billion on a lot of these movies to even come anywhere near profit because you're only taking 50% of the box office home. So if a movie makes, if you spend $250 or $300 million to make a movie, right? So you spend $250 million to make a movie. You take 1.5 of that times 1.5 of that to add to the marketing budget. You have a $500 million movie. Say that movie makes $500 million on its opening weekend. That's not likely, but say it makes $300 million. It's a really, really good movie. They're only keeping half of that, so they've made $150 million on an opening weekend. Marvel movies are now averaging a 60% drop week 1 to week 2.
Okay.
You can't do that and continually expect to make profit.
They've lost 4 million in the fiscal second quarter, but in quarter 1 they lost 2.4 million subscribers.
Okay.
And their stock is down by 9% today.
Yep.
Is it go woke, go broke in action? They're not broke. That's the thing.
Yeah.
They're never gonna go broke.
Get woke, invest in ESG more.
It's
like that's
get woke, get a little bit panicked about losses.
Stock always seems
restore
to
a little bit and then keep going with wokeness.
For them, we are talking about Disney, and I understand that they're the intellectual property that they own means that they're not going to go broke.
Exactly.
But they can be affected by stockholders and by what people do, you know, by what people say, and that should be the goal. If you look at what's going on with Anheuser-Busch, they're having repercussions, and I think that Anheuser-Busch is going to be a indication to other companies that there's not just blank, an open invitation to do those types of endorsements and
campaigns.
Stuff like that. Yeah.
And remember, all of this is going on while DeSantis and Iger are basically fighting like schoolgirls.
He even called out DeSantis on the call.
Like he's fighting with Iger and
like,
DeSantis.
Do you want our business or not?
Yeah, they're like
while he's laying off
Florida.
thousands of people in the company, he claims that he's about to introduce tens of thousands of new jobs.
Yeah.
Like, you're laying off 7,000 people, though. Also, it's ironic that Bob Iger is capable of recognizing a W when it comes from the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Said he thanked them for like saving the industry and congratulated them on such a huge win. That was Illumination, right?
Yeah. Yep.
That made it with Nintendo.
Nintendo. Yeah.
And it's just an obvious like apolitical win for them, but he doesn't have the common sense to mirror that in his own company.
Nope. Because they wanted to get involved in politics, and they want to get involved in the stupid Florida and the Don't Say Gay bill. And obviously, we were all like, "What does that have to do with Disney?" Well, Disney's doing their children's invite pride festivals or pride nights and stuff like that. So what do? Like, when you're a company like Disney, it does feel like a slow motion car crash, and maybe it's one of those things that 20 years from now there'll be great documentaries made about all of this that will kind of condense it down into a shorter format that will be easier and it'll seem like it happened quicker than it did. But it just seems like now, and there are great channels out there. Clownfish TV does great work covering Disney. WDW Pro does great work covering Disney. We don't cover it a whole ton because it always seems like I enjoy covering the movies when there's stuff like Lightyear, but the business side of it, this is a little bit interesting to me because it just seems like how many quarter over quarter can you lose subscribers? But there are whole channels that make it their business to cover Disney as a whole, and you see it just goes very, very slowly. They're collapsing, but they're collapsing very, very slowly. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.